They actually have another type of beer they sell, the same company, called Genesee Cream Ale.
Mm.
And that is commonly referred to in the Buffalo area as pre-diarrhea. And there's a reason.
I bet there's a reason.
It's the Taco Bell of beers, basically. What's up, Lit Punks? I'm NJ Sullivan, and welcome to Punks in the Library. Our guest today is Eve, who writes under Dixon Reuel and just published the last book in her 6 foot? Screw that. 6 book series, the Bloodbrute series. Eve is the only full-time author I know, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Say hi to all the people you can't see, Eve.
Greetings, ladies and germs. Also, I am 6 foot tall, so that's wonderful.
Are you 6 foot tall?
Yeah, I'm
Oh, holy
5'11",
cow.
but most men, I give myself an extra inch.
That's all right. Most men give themselves an extra 3. It works out.
Hey.
Yeah. So I met Eve through Twitter. And when we were getting ready to bring back Punks in the Library, I spoke to Connor Breeden and said, who do you think would be a good guest? And Eve was the top of his list. And also said, Eve is a full-time author. And I went, wait, those exist? It's like how, let's start there. How did that happen? How did you end up being able to write full-time? And just actually, before we get into that, Eve did just tell me that she recently took on a part-time job. As far as I'm concerned, that makes her still a full-time author with a part-time job. So fight me about it in the comments. Good luck finding me. But no, it's like you took on a second gig on top of your writing. Writing isn't your second gig. So that's why I still view it that way.
Yeah.
How did you get there?
The very short answer and the pithy answer and the soundbite is you sell a lot of books and you
well,
make
no
a profit
shit.
on that sale. It's not just selling, it's the profit, which is obviously
Yes.
net of gross, as they say. No, I was in everyone's typical story. Always wanted to be a writer, always have written. Ended up in a career throughout my life of kind of executive level, like C-suite admin roles in different industries. So kind of, as I always say, a professional cat herder in the corporate
Hey, me
world.
too.
Hey,
Except the
at
cats I
life.
heard are all of the different species of author. Those are the
And
cats
that's
I'm currently
worse.
herding.
They're not as professional.
And actually, you're kind of right. There is
Hey.
no professional code of conduct among authors at all. But we can get into
Yeah,
that later if you want.
I would like to. Anyway, so look, there's no way to answer the question of how do you become a full-time author without giving a little bit of a CV. So in my
For our American
crazy,
listeners, that's a resume, by the way.
resume.
Yeah. Some people here
Very
call it a
pretty.
CV. Resume is more common. CV is
Okay.
generally academic here.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So I would have always written, and I wrote some poetry one day that ended me as runner-up for a large Irish Poetry Award. It's called the Patrick Kavanagh Poetry Award.
I know Patrick
And
Kavanagh.
poet, yeah?
Yeah.
Not
I
just
read a
someone called
poem
Patrick
one
Kavanagh.
time. No, I know the poet.
Oh, because the way you said it, I thought you were like, I know Patrick Kavanagh.
Oh, no, I wasn't making a joke. I've actually
Like
heard of
down
that
the road.
Irish poet. That's an Irish poet who isn't Oscar Wilde that I actually know,
Mm,
or James Joyce.
there you go.
I think James Joyce was
Anyway,
a poet. I know he's a odd
he was,
fella, but
we'll just say he was a writer. All
writer, just in
writers.
general. Yeah. Anyway, go
Um,
on. Sorry, I
yes,
interrupted.
so that kind of catapulted me into the wonderful world of the Irish poetry scene and had some more successes there, some publications, some more awards and bursaries and shortlistings, blah, blah, blah. Was very much on the trajectory of being a poet, which was intolerable to me in some
Really?
aspects. Yeah, my heart is in science fiction. It's in sci-fi. It's in the dream worlds, and I always have this really weird argument that poetry is kind of science fiction fantasy, but that's for another podcast episode if you'll have me back.
I mean, that sounds. Write that down because I don't have paper in front of me. Because that actually sounds like a very interesting topic.
But anyway, so I wanted to write about, I had a particular story in mind, in this particular instance of what would vampires do during a zombie apocalypse, not in a kind of cringy way, but in a more of a contemplative, like they would feel the dread we would, but on an immortal scale or a very long life scale. How would they deal with that? So I researched indie publishing because I knew this series would never get published either in Ireland or the UK. I just had a feeling this is an indie project.
This isn't gonna fit anybody's sales forecast for the next 10 years. Yeah.
No, it absolutely isn't. And it had a home. I know where the home lived on the internet. It's indie publishing for this kind of tale.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
off I went and I wrote 6 books in 3 years, mostly with a full-time job throughout 2.5 of those years. So that's a 70,000 word manuscript written, edited professionally, published every 6 months for 3 years throughout COVID and a lot of other things
Good
that happened in
Lord.
life.
Man.
I have very high focus, so it clicks in, just go.
Do you write by hand? Do you type or do you use voice to text or
I outline by hand and then I draft. Like I can touch type through my work, so I type
okay.
fast drafting.
Okay. I've actually had to move into I also outline by hand.
Mm.
I'm the king of the legal pads.
Yes, the yellow ones.
Yeah, the yellow ones, the
Yeah.
classic yellow ones. I use them. I have mini ones. I have the full size. But we can talk about that later too. Finish your story here. How did this
Sure.
come about?
So I started getting traction, started learning about indie publishing and what it means because there's terminology in indie publishing like, oh, rapid release and right to market. And people think they know what that means. I was very shocked to find out that it actually means something quite different. And we can talk about that. But
I have a bit of a marketing background and a bit of
hey,
a corporate background, so we can absolutely have that conversation.
lovely.
And I'll probably understand at least 60 to 70% of it.
That's all I ask.
Think of me as a C-level executive.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
I have a basic understanding of the concept, and I'm going to lie to you and tell you I understood the full thing, and then just go off and do whatever.
Louder than I could possibly ever speak. And
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Sir, you're looking amazing today. Do you want your coffee?
Oh, oh, thank you very much. Do you have that paperwork ready? I know I just asked you for it at 5 o'clock last night, but it's 7 a.m. and I'd like it now.
And this is where I go, yes, of course. And then you never see it until like 3 weeks later.
I was in your position
Oh,
when I was in the corporate world. Yeah, I was in data for an insurance company.
oh, I worked in insurance. Yeah.
So Anyway, we're doing the thing. We're getting off topic.
Horror stories of the corporate world. Now there's an apocalyptic wasteland.
Oh, dude. Anyway.
Yes. Can you do a segment on zombie secretaries? I know you're desperately trying to get back on track. I'm so sorry. But
Zombie secretaries, as in like some of the people I worked with, or like actual like horror movie zombies? Because I mean, they're very similar, but they smell different.
I never met a secretary that didn't overdo the perfume. I'm so sorry. Continue. I'm so sorry.
Every single one.
Yeah.
Okay. This is going to be a long episode. I already know it.
I'm so sorry. I'm going to shut up. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. You're the one who's supposed to be talking. I'm supposed to be interjecting, and I'm doing the wrong kind of interjections and getting you off topic. You started getting traction, and you started realizing that people were using this terminology wrong. Well, how were they using it wrong?
So someone from the outside might see, oh, I'm going to be an indie author and I'm going to rapid release. Rapid release means something very specific. Rapid release works best on the Amazon Kindle Select platform. That's when you enroll your book, not just on Amazon to publish, but in the Kindle Select program. When you hit publish on your book, you have 30 days when it is boosted naturally in the charts. Day 31, that's the drop off.
It drops off. Yep.
There's a notable significant drop off. So they recommend in rapid release, you have your next book to publish on day 28. 28 days after book 1. Like there's a
So you keep the
literal,
momentum rolling.
you never let that drop off happen. And you
Okay.
rapid
Okay.
release until your fingers bleed or you fall over.
Or you make enough to retire.
This is it, whichever comes first, whichever comes first.
Yeah.
So I
Or
wasn't,
you burn out, which is the topic that Connor and I covered. So
mm,
that's how how rapid release works, and it only works on the Kindle Select.
obviously you can make the argument it'll work on any platform if you release quick enough and fast enough, but that's not
Right.
quite what it means. But anyway, to round off my resume, I started like Facebook ads, Amazon ads, BookBub ads, and I started getting traction, and enough income was coming in, and a few other things in my life reduced, as in work hours and financial commitments that I deliberately reduced in order to keep moving towards full-time authordom. So there's things I did in my life that don't necessarily mean you sell more books. It means you reduce your costs. And I think people forget that side of the seesaw when it comes to being a full-time author. Yeah.
Return on investment plays into that as well because if you're over investing, you have to watch what your returns are.
Yes.
Where can you cut corners?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, where can you reduce input and keep output?
Yeah. And you have to really watch your metrics. And what I mean by that is it's not good enough just to look at your sales. You have to monitor sales over time and the impact of the different activities you are doing, both paid and unpaid. So I know I start posting on Twitter a lot, talking shite, maybe post one or two pictures of me, posts of the cat. I mean, I have like nerdy things on my desk. I'm a nerd. I love video games. I love cosplay. I start that pattern and I start shiting on. I see it the next 3 days in increased book sales, if with all other advertising turned off.
Really?
Yeah, but that's purely because of factors. People will say, "Oh, social media does not sell books," and that is true. It will not sell books in volume, but it will move some.
I was actually talking to Alexis Carroll
Oh,
about
okay.
this yesterday. I was kind of giving her the numbers from what I had about social media marketing, organic or paid.
Yeah.
Twitter has the lowest conversion rate, and
Yeah.
it's only like 2%. I mean, and that's across industries. Keep that in mind. Twitter has the highest, or not Twitter, TikTok has the highest, and it's like 13%.
Yeah.
But TikTok also has a weird, and I know you really use TikTok, but it has a weird word of mouth quality to it.
Mm-hmm.
And word of mouth has something like an 80% conversion rate.
Like that's insane because coming up to the publication of book 6, like my final book, I did kind of lose it a little bit because I spent a week. I spent a week doing shorts. I did shorts for a week, kind of as an experiment, and partly because I was going a bit doolally, and I saw
I
the
remember
reach.
that week. I remember
I
your
know.
tweet from that week. You were a little off kilter, but in a funny way.
I
In
tried to
my
be
book's
as
about to come out and my brain doesn't want to function anymore.
it really because a friend of ours had gifted me a 1 pound bag of blue Takis, the blue ones, which are illegal in Europe. They're not allowed in Europe because they're blue. That blue dye is
Yeah,
carcinogenic or some bullshit. I don't know.
yeah.
But I'd eaten the whole bag in a week, and that's what I was making those videos on. And
So you're
a
just
great
running
week.
like on a sugar rush basically
And
all week.
spice high, and it was like something out of Dune. I was like, the spice must flow. It was great.
The spice
Anyway,
melange.
spice melange. Oh
You know,
yeah.
I have to say, before I put this shirt on, I was wearing a USC Nostromo t-shirt, like a crew
Alien.
shirt. So yeah, I'm right there with you on the classics.
Alien is my favorite movie of all time. I think it's
Oh, it's great.
such a stunning piece of work. Like, yeah.
It's art. Like it is purely art. So you were getting traction and you were doing all of your like marketing work.
The money was coming in, and then other things in my life, as in like financial stuff, I was like getting rid of stuff I didn't need. So I didn't need my car. I was able to sell my car, save all the insurance money, all the money, petrol,
Yeah.
everything,
And I
gas,
know
as you would say.
having a car in Ireland is way more expensive than having one in the US. I know you guys insurance rates are insane.
Shocking. And then there's NCT, as we would say, like the national car test that you have to do every now and then.
For us, we call
Um,
it emissions, but yeah.
yeah. So that kind of thing, and things like that. So like moving to a capsule wardrobe as a woman. So I have about 35 items of clothing, but and they all interchange, and I don't need like clothes, as in, so that's more budget reduction of cutting some corners there. And you're looking at me like I've five heads.
I have more black t-shirts than you have items of clothing. I'm not
But
kidding.
the thing is like, as I've said again, I really don't make this to be the Eve is Tall podcast. When you're kind of taller, your clothes just kind of a bit more specialty. You like
That's true.
shirts
Yeah,
never,
you can't buy off the rack as easily.
not for ladies' clothes. Like I can do with men's sweaters and stuff like that's fine, but for corporate work attire, like a suit
Right.
for a tall lady is
Stuff that has to be fitted to you a little bit more.
a bit more.
See, I
And then
don't have
things
that
like,
problem. I'm 5'9", so
yeah,
I could
ones
wear
who drank
clothes
their
designed
milk.
for 14-year-olds, you know?
Oh,
In fact, I'm the same height I was when I was 14. I haven't grown an inch since. I had one growth spurt in my entire life, and I was like, well, guess that's it.
oh,
Grown bigger around, but not taller.
oh, yeah, same. But anyway, so just consciously budget. I'm trying to stay on track. I really am. Like I'm the one doing all the work here. I'm pulling my weight. I'm like back on top.
You are. I'm the one being bad about it.
Not at all. So let me think. Other things, just like being smarter in terms of like groceries, for example. So not being an idiot, having meal plans,
Yeah.
well-stocked pantry. I know how to cook, thank God. So, and other things like we had a spare room and we have a very, very good friend. And we're like, hey, Dublin rent at the minute is
Yeah,
astronomical
it's
and
nuts.
ridiculous. Yeah.
I've seen that.
Yeah. So we just said, hey, move in. And they did. So, yeah, a little bit money from rent every month, and you give someone a
A place to
proper like
live.
home to live in,
Yeah.
rather than the
And
bullshit.
when did you realize that you didn't have to work the corporate job anymore?
That summer of last year.
So you were in like book 3 then, like halfway through?
That's hilarious. It's funny, you could ask me that question, and I'm sure there is an answer. I'm like, books are just this
It's
insane
just one
blur.
long string
It
for you.
kind of was. Some like crazy things happened during those 3 years. So,
You
um,
don't say.
and not
I
just
lived under
COVID,
a rock.
not just COVID. Well, yes, COVID, but transitioning then to working remotely full time. Unfortunately, my mom passed away, and
Oh,
then yeah, she was at the other end of the country, but she was interesting enough, she was in a nursing home and she had dementia, so she never knew anything
oh,
about the pandemic. She didn't know
oh, yeah.
like at
Just was
all.
unaware of it. Yeah.
Yeah. An aunt of mine, very close aunt of mine, passed, and then got married during COVID. 10 people at the wedding, and then we went on honeymoon as well. So there's a lot of like, let's cram everything life has to offer in the 3 years you're writing 6 books.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you have the same problem I do, where if you see an empty space, you have to fill it with something.
That's something. Yeah, you just put the nail on the head there. Yeah.
Why the table next to me is covered in stuff.
But it's your stuff and you know where everything is. It's that organized
The sad thing
chaos.
is, I don't.
Oh no,
I need to
I'm trying
organize
to
that.
jam you up here. I'm trying to be like, where everything is.
That's supposed to be a tech table, like camera gear and microphones, and it's got like pictures and a trivet on it for some
Oh,
reason.
yeah.
See, I got us off topic again. So
So I'm going to keep on topic and I'm going to tell you what happened then. I'm just going to keep talking and you
yeah,
can
just
interrupt me
keep
if you want.
talking.
I'm just keep
Just keep
talking. Okay,
talking.
cool. It's my show
Yeah.
now. So I'll send you my bill.
Every Irish guest I have, that's what happens.
Literally the gift of the gab. Like,
Literally. Yeah.
put your feet up. It's fine. Take a night off.
Oh, one of them's already, I'm sitting cross-legged in my chair
Hey.
right now. So yeah,
Yeah,
we're good.
same. So anyway, Bloodbrute comes to an end. 6 books are published. And this is the part no one wants to talk about.
Well, that's what we're here to talk about.
Absolutely. And I'm 100% here for that. So writing that much, that's about 450,000 words in 6 years. I mean, 3 years.
I'll give you a little bit of perspective you may not have on that number, because I have a number to compare to that.
Okay, what's your number?
That's twice the length of the King James edition of the Bible, New Testament. Yeah, that's how much you wrote in 3 years.
And like my name is Eve. It's a biblical name. Like, what am I doing out here?
I wasn't making that connection. You did.
Oh, okay. I thought you.
No, no, no. I was just saying that like you
Oh,
wrote, how long is the New Testament? I mean, that's a long tome. And you wrote twice that in 3 years by yourself.
the thing is like if someone was to come to me and say that to me on the inside, I'd be like, "You're a fucking idiot. That can't be of any quality. That's just nonsense. You're
Yeah,
just typing
yeah,
shite." Like,
yeah.
no, everything is trust me, professionally edited, like developmentally edited, proofed. I don't know if Connor spoke to you about Stephen Black, a kind of a mutual friend of
Yes,
ours.
I know Steven actually. Yeah.
Hey, yeah. So
And if I ever have the money to pay him to edit something, he's one of my like two or three choices because I know how good he is.
he's
I'd love
so
to get
good.
him on the show sometime actually.
Oh yes, hit him up absolutely. He edited I think book 5 for me, and yeah. So if it can pass Stephen, it's not
Yeah, I mean,
entire
yeah,
mush.
I've interacted with him enough just on Twitter to know that he is not lax about his work at
No,
all.
he's so stringent. And that's what you need. I'm a big fan of. For a while, I thought I'll have the one editor for the whole series, and yeah, that'll be great. Not for discount purposes, but just for continuity. And then I was like,
Yeah,
oh
yeah.
no, it kind of does need a new set of eyes every now and then, every couple of books. So
Yeah, because even editors just like writers, you start to not notice the mistakes.
hmm
I want to ask you a couple more questions about going full time.
please
And
do.
then, there's another topic that you kind of accidentally brought up that I really kind of want to get into because it's something I've done.
Okay,
But first, this is really open ended, and this is a terrible interview question. But I'm a terrible interviewer.
I'm gonna
That's why
try my
this isn't an
best.
interview show. Like, how did it feel to finally go full time? Was that like a sense of accomplishment, or was it just like, well, this is my job now? Like, how did you look at it? Because for me, I look at, this podcast, and I know you told Connor because Connor and I talked about you on our
Me?
show.
Oh
Yeah,
no!
you told Connor
What?
you can only do one thing well.
Do you know
And
what?
I don't
No, hang
I
on,
don't
stop,
entire
shut
I
up.
don't entirely
Every
disagree with you. I don't entirely disagree with you. Let's just start there.
nonsense comes out of this beak, right? And sometimes people are like, Eve said something amazing, and I'm going to tell the whole internet. And I'm like, oh
I
no.
don't even remember saying that. I was drunk when I said that. That's generally me.
I don't even
So,
drink, which is the worst part. I'm like, did I? Because Connor said to me one time, Eve, like, yes, Eve, you said something like great one time. And I was like, really? Oh, okay. What did I say?
it's
And he was like, oh, you said you can only wear like one saddle at once. You can only do one thing. And I was like,
yeah.
yeah,
I don't
shit.
remember saying that.
If I said it and it's good, okay. But if it's bad, oh, like I didn't say that.
The reason I even brought that up
Yeah.
is because I mean I do podcasting. I also do audio dramas
Yes.
and audio storytelling. Technically two different things. And I'm going to say you're not wrong that you have to focus on the one thing. And the conversation I had with Connor was I said that's part of the reason that mindset is part of the reason this show is formatted the way it is. I don't have to do deep dive research. I don't have to do a ton of background on the guests on the show. We pick a topic, we get a general idea of what that topic means, and we have a conversation. So, that advice, I agreed with it. Now, when I do my audio dramas, I take the same approach that I think you took with Blood Brute, that this is my job. This is a job. I am a one man band, more or less.
Yep.
In your case, you did have outside editors and stuff. I don't. But you are the CEO of a company when you're doing this. And I've tried to drill that into the heads of so many authors coming up now, and they don't want to see it.
I want to do all the things, and I understand that because I want to too.
It's not just do all the things, but not
Oh,
seeing it as having a very strong business aspect.
right. I get you. Okay.
Not
Yeah.
not wanting to do market research, not wanting to have a website that's SEO optimized, not proofreading their tweets, not thinking twice before they post something on the internet. All this stuff that people in business, this is what they do. And they have teams of people who back check and backstop them. And double check and come up with strategies. Actually, I thought of something last night and I was going to post it on Twitter, but I'm glad I get to say it to you first.
Okay.
Whenever you see somebody who is an overnight success, look behind them.
There's 10 years of overnight success.
There's either 10 years of overnight success or there's 15 people.
Both even, yeah.
So, that's why like every overnight success musician I've ever met, and I've been lucky enough to meet quite a few of like one hit wonder overnight success, where they come from. Yeah, they've been playing in clubs for 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
And they got through their bad phase before anybody heard of them. They're an overnight success only because you just heard about them. The same thing applies to writers. Like, the whole thing with Chelsea Banning from Twitter. The woman, she had her first book signing and nobody showed up.
And then
I and like every other author on the planet, including, huge names.
Was it Neil Gaiman, I think?
Neil Gaiman jumped in. Henry Winkler jumped in. All sorts of people from like every genre across the board. I think Weird Al commented on it. And musicians were talking about playing shows and nobody showing up. Everybody was saying, welcome to the club. Well, yes, you could see her as an overnight success if you had never seen her before. But she's been writing for years. This is her first novel. This is not her first rodeo.
Yes.
If one of my shows breaks out big right now, people are going to think I'm an overnight success because I'm pretty obscure. But I've been in this industry one way or another for literally my entire adult life. Yeah, feel free to call me an overnight success and just keep paying me for that.
Yeah.
I keep trying to drive that into people's heads that it's a business. Getting back to the point. Yes, it is an artistic expression. And if you want it to be just that, that is fine. If you want to make a career out of it, it's a business too. And if you can't separate the two, you have to find somebody else to do the business side for you.
And pay them. Usually.
And pay them. Yeah. Not everybody has a marketing executive as a spouse or partner or best friend who will work for you for free.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, I don't think you should ask them to anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's not professional on your part.
Not even a little bit.
I see that a lot. That kind of divide between plotters and pantsers. And some people write better when they sit down and plot, and some other people write better when they wing it. But I do think there's a middle ground of authors there who either like, how do I say this nicely, like the kind of artistic chaoticness or the appearance of it, of not plotting. And they see plotting as something that business writers do, that's not creative.
Yeah.
And it's more, like, there are definitely pantsers who can just sit down and blah, blah, blah. That's how they write.
Stephen
that's
King's
how they
one
should.
of them. Yeah.
But then there's people who are in love with the idea of being a pantser and would never be a plotter and start screaming. What?
The image.
The image, yeah.
Yeah. The image of the tortured author.
Yes. The one, and especially in Ireland, the one who literally has a drinking problem, and that's kind of the only way of saying it. Kind of alcohol is really infused with like Irish writing scene.
I actually did a tweet about that a while ago that Connor responded to, that I said the stereotypes about Irish people and the stereotypes about authors have a really strange overlap.
Mm-hmm.
Like, drink too much, angry, fight a lot, swear a lot. And I think I put likes potatoes at the end of it just as a joke. I don't remember.
I really do love potatoes.
But there's this kind of, I love potatoes too, but I'm Irish American, so it might be genetic. Where did that end up?
I don't know. I was just trying to make I love potatoes sound really sexy, and then you're like, I love potatoes too.
It didn't come across as sexy to me. It came across as wistful. I do love potatoes.
I do love potatoes. And I'm like, mashed. We are not going to start talking about mashed potatoes. We were talking about writers and a business or something. I'm sorry, Nick. I'm running your show.
It's okay. It's okay. It's supposed to be a loose conversation.
I didn't say ruining. I said running.
This loose. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I've tried to drive that into people's heads, and you're a perfect example of somebody who saw the business side, took the time to understand it, and succeeded. And completely on your own terms.
Mm.
And
It's
are
strange to
you
hear
going
that.
to
It's
disagree
strange
with
to
that?
hear that because whenever I hear it, like that is 100% true. Also, I am a gremlin of a human being.
It
I get
sounds
up.
far too grand.
Yeah, it's a little bit like lad. Like no, like no.
But
I'm in a
well,
pajama pants
if
in
we're
my
if we're
little
gonna,
hole.
I'm in a clean shirt and dirty shorts with no shoes or socks on.
Once you got the shorts on, that's
Yeah.
okay.
Okay, I just want to make sure that you understand. I mean, like athletic shorts, like basketball shorts. I don't know if that's a slang term for something else in Ireland.
Let's go back to writing.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't saying
Yeah, yeah.
something vaguely gross
Oh my goodness.
or
Okay. No,
grosser
when you
than I
say like
intended it to be.
when you say oh on your own terms, to me that's this is not an offensive in any way. It means it's American to my Irish ears. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, well,
That's an American.
I'll define it. I'll define it
Yeah.
by asking you questions.
Yes.
So, did anyone other than the editor you hired have a say with the content of your book?
No.
Did anyone other than you or the artist you hired have a say as to the cover of your book?
Nope.
Did anyone other than you or whoever you hired have a say in the marketing of your book?
Nope. Just me.
Then you did it entirely on your own terms.
Yeah.
Nobody else's opinion was in that but yours and the people whose opinion you hired to give to you.
Yes. It physically hurts, but yes.
As an American, that's the idea.
Okay.
And I at the beginning of the show, I referred to our lovely audience, I hope there is one, as lit punks.
Mm.
And lit punk is a term I came up with for people who did exactly what you did.
Oh,
They write
okay.
what they want for the audience they want. They do it on their own terms. Period.
Mm.
Nobody gets a say unless they give them one.
Asterisk with an eye to the market, because otherwise you can't go full time.
Well,
Because you have to make sales to go full time.
for going full time, absolutely.
Yeah. If
But
that's your goal, and it
a
may not
lot of
be
people that's
feasible.
not their goal.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
100%.
for me, there is an eye to the market aspect to it. It's not being created commercially. It's being created as the story you want to tell.
Story that
But
came, yeah.
but once that story is done, you start looking at, okay, where does this fit? You
What are the
start looking at
tropes?
all the
What are the
metrics.
trending? Yeah.
And that's
Because
when you switch
initially,
from writer to businessman or
yes,
business person in
I've
this case.
have an interesting aside on that because initially the Bloodroot series, I had that categorized in post-apocalyptic sci-fi, and there was zero traction in that.
Really?
Yes, because it wasn't that the cover wasn't on brand. Like this is, I mean, I know the readers can't see it, but like the listeners, this is the
Yep.
cover. It could fit into post-apocalyptic sci-fi. It's a
Right. Yeah.
symbolic cover and imagery, blah. The minute I switched over to dark fantasy, that's when it took off. But I had to eat the
Oh,
humble pie and recategorize, redo my metadata, redo my keywords, redo my
yep.
categories, redo my ads, redo
Everything.
my website copy, even down to my profiles, like your
Oh,
Twitter bios.
yeah.
All of that had to be redone. Dark fantasy, and that's where it took off. But you have to shut the fuck up and take the humble pie and be like, I'm
Yeah.
wrong. I'm wrong. I need to change it.
And that's where you switch from I am a writer to I am a business person. When the story is done, you have to change modes if you
Yes.
want to do it full time.
Yes.
And a long time I didn't want to admit that. A long time I didn't want to admit that. I
It's a
didn't want to
very hard
be
pill.
corporate. I have an ingrained and possibly genetic dislike for corporate culture.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of my father's other great pieces of advice was never take a job where you have to wear a suit. That's the thing I've been trying to like through Twitter, which is a terrible way to do it. Trying to get people to see is if you want to be full time, you kind of have to do it or follow the example of somebody like you, Eve. You have to recognize the business side, learn about it, and if you don't want to do that, hire someone to do it for you.
Yeah. But the thing is, part of writing your story, what people really don't want to admit is that the marketing copy, which is a story, is part of that. Writing your
Yeah.
blurb is part of being a writer.
Yeah.
The minute people think, oh, my story just exists in the manuscript, no, you need to tell your story to your audience. I'm not even that good at that. You know what I mean? Like my Facebook ads don't set the world on fire. It got me enough funds so I could leave my job and stay out of my job for like 9 months. And then
Yeah.
coming into the second half of this year, I mean, we can talk about this because it's great saying, oh, Eve's a full-time author. But she did have to take on a part-time job recently, and there's
Yeah.
reasons why
It's
for that.
not stable.
It's not static. No,
Yeah. Yeah. That's a better word for it. It's not static
it's not a
because
destination and then you give up and just like live at a lakeside forever.
sales will ebb and flow. Even for the best of the best. Now their graph is far higher,
Mm.
but all sales ebb and flow. And
Yeah.
if you're relying on those sales specifically for or entirely for your income, you have to be willing to accept that they may drop to zero for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 16, 18 months.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to be able to eat that if you don't want to have to go back to work.
Because I thought for the longest time, really naively, I genuinely thought in the beginning, because the lessons you learn doing this are so immediate and
Oh
hard.
man.
Holy
And
shit,
yeah,
they roll you
the
down. So I
the learning
genuinely,
curve is a vertical line.
it's just someone goes
It
bam to your
really
face
is.
every day.
Yeah.
I genuinely thought, like in the beginning, I'll sell books every day. Sure, I'll have sales every day. And then that doesn't happen. But you might get sales seasonally, you might get it quarterly, you might get it only on Saturday afternoons for some reason. If like
Yeah.
suddenly 80 of your percent of your sales come Saturday afternoon. That's what I was
Yeah.
talking about earlier. You have to look at where your sales coming from. And it's easy to go, oh, I've put this money in Facebook ads, so therefore my sales must be Facebook.
But what's your
However,
click-through rate?
what's your
What's your
CTR?
click-through rate?
Yeah.
What's your CTR? Yep.
What's your read through rate on your series? But also, what
Yeah.
else are you doing? So, say if I send my newsletter every Friday, it's no shock that I'll get a spike in sales on Friday because my readers will go, oh, yeah, I don't have number 4 actually. I'm going to buy
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. It's a reminder. You're putting yourself back out there to people who have already shown interest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's a business cap you have to wear that a lot of people are reticent to do. And I get it because
It's
you have to eat
complicated,
so
dude.
much humble pie. Like the
And that
decision
too.
to find a job, because basically what happened was 6 books came out, and I look ahead. I'm like, what am I doing in 5 years? I don't know. Or
Yep.
will we all even be here? Anyway, I look ahead and I'm like, okay, my next book project will not be written fast. I have done that. I've ridden that horse. My next book project is going to take its own damn time. It's already come to me. I'm in the middle of it. It's fantastic. It's a fantastic feeling to write it, is what I should say.
Yeah.
However, I am taking my time. I am not doing that cute chart thing where you count your words every day and have targets. I'm like,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
this bitch is coming when she's coming. So I'm like, I cannot have money worries on my plate. I cannot be worried
Right.
about
Right.
sales. So
Right.
if it's for 12, like looking at the next 12 months, okay, I got myself a part-time job. It's not full-time. Also, it's remote, which is something I had to fucking fight for. And apologies for cursing, but because of my CV, right? People look at my CV in the kind of corporate sense and go, oh my God, yeah, you can become like operations director of regional blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, I want to be remote. And they're like, oh, but just come into the office 4 days a week. Remote roles here in Ireland are really hard to come by.
They're hard to come by here in the US too.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
been applying for them ever since my wife had her stroke. And like, dude, I've put in 160 applications at this point, and I haven't gotten a single call back. And it's all stuff I'm qualified for.
Yeah. That's the worst part. You're like, what, the person who got this job, what were they doing? What more were they doing than
Yeah,
I
yeah.
was?
There's a
Fire.
phrase I'd like to use, but I'm not going to go that far on this website or on this
Okay.
podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I'm miming it. I don't mind the F bombs, but we stay out of
We
that
have
territory.
standards around here.
We have standards around here.
So basically, anyway, I looked ahead to the future. Saw, okay, there's worries I do not want to have on my plate. I will take them off by doing this job. Now,
Yeah.
that also takes the big eating a humble pie to be like, I can't make my income entirely from my book sales. Not a lot of authors do. They take up editing
No.
gigs and formatting gigs and all the rest.
A lot of them are teachers too.
Yeah, I don't know what that's
Yeah.
about. I think it's the holidays in the summer that they get like 3 months.
Well, and also teachers tend to be, especially like English teachers, tend to have a love for the language.
Yeah,
So, they're kind of predisposed to it.
primed to it. Yeah. I don't know. That's the thing. I would never wander around now saying I'm a full-time writer when in reality I'm a GDPR passport in operations doohickey. So,
Yep. I have no idea what that means, and that's okay.
LOL.
So, you just mentioned something else, and this was the topic I wanted to get back to a little while ago. So, I'm
Yes.
glad you brought it back around. Speed writing. Now,
Mm.
I'm going to give you my history with speed writing. It isn't as hardcore as yours. A few years ago, I started a series called Void Veil, which is kind of classic sci-fi police series. And I set a goal for myself. They're novelettes, so roughly
Mm.
10,000 words each, 10 to 12,000 words each. And my goal was to start a story on Monday and publish it on Sunday.
Wow.
And I did that for 6 weeks straight.
Do you have any idea of what you're getting yourself in for? Like,
I had no idea what I was getting myself in for. And keep in mind, at this point, I already had damaged hands and I wasn't using voice to text yet. When I say I have damaged hands, I mean I've broken literally every bone in both of my hands. I've
oh,
also dislocated all of my fingers at least once. And I have early onset, like pre-arthritis in every joint and all both of my hands.
you need a better keyboard.
I have a great keyboard.
Have you?
I don't use it all that
Is it
much
made of
anymore.
just sponge? I hope. Oh, you do speech
No.
to
Yeah,
speech
I
thingy.
do speech to text. And by the way,
Yes.
I'm gonna show Eve my friend Ollie here. I was given this as a gift by my wife when I was talking about wanting to be able to write more efficiently.
Mm.
This is my friend Ollie. This
Dictaphone
is
machine.
Ollie, my dictaphone.
Yay.
And so I don't even need to have a keyboard with me
Mm.
to write.
Mm.
This actually has a USB built into it, and
Mm.
I can plug it into my computer, and I have Dragon Naturally Speaking on my computer. It will automatically transcribe it for me.
Oh, it'll transcribe.
Yep. Dragon Naturally Speaking will automatically transcribe for you.
Very
And
nice.
Ollie goes everywhere with me. And it's like $50. So I suggest that every writer should have one. It's a different way of writing. Like you
Mm.
have to kind of switch your brain into a different mode to do it. But we were talking before we started recording about how I'm slowing down her speech patterns because I have a slower speech pattern. And by the way, it's only partially working, just so you know.
Ha!
In my kind of native, when I'm on a roll way of speaking, I can speak 120 to 130 words a minute. Now, not consistently for like 3 hours because you have to breathe, you have to think, all that stuff. But 130 words a minute for 10 minutes is a novelette.
Oh,
No, a short story.
right.
It's 1,300 words.
Yeah, yeah.
I can pump out 1,300 words in 10 minutes, which is longer than any of the scripts I've written for Lantern News. And the
In
show
10
averages 10
minutes.
minutes long.
Right. Can I ask you, like, I've tried dictation. I'm not good at it. Just in terms of my little brain, as we've noticed, jumps around a little bit. And the single line train of thought just isn't something I can keep. But anyway, did you find that hard to, I mean, it's in a nice way, to stay on topic in your story? Can you
Um,
dictate into Ollie?
I get around that
Yeah.
through a system I've actually used since my first book, which is I I do what I call storyboarding,
Right.
which I start out with a basic outline. I usually use 7-point story structure because it's the one I prefer. 3 act is kind of, it doesn't fit a lot of the like
Yeah.
the what's the word I'm looking for here? The rhythm of the stories I tell as well. So I've switched to using a lot of 7-point and then add in details. And then I get note cards, 3x5 note cards.
Yeah.
And I write every single scene on a note card. And then I take the note cards with me. And that's detailed information, including up to and including any specific lines of dialogue I want to include. and it's all right there with me. I have a little day bag that I carry everywhere, and Ollie and my note cards are in the day bag. And if I have time to sit down and write, like if my wife is in a doctor's appointment or I'm waiting on something or, I'm sitting and have nothing to do, pull out my note cards, pull out Ollie, and I just dictate.
Yeah.
And sometimes I dictate exactly what is on the note card because I don't have any creative sparks going on. But then it goes into the manuscript. And then I edit the living hell out of it.
Yeah.
I'm currently writing a book that way. Most of the stuff I've written in the past 3 or 4 years has been written that way, including all of the first season of Brimstone, which is one of my audio dramas. Getting back to your actual question about going off on tangents, I think that my background in voice acting and working behind a mic helps me with that because my narrator is a character. And when I'm writing the narration or the description, I'm speaking as that character. When I'm writing the dialogue, I'm speaking as the characters.
Will you do an article or a blog post or a Twitter thread on just how to dictate better as a writer? Because that's a phenomenal tip. Because to me, that's just blown my little mind. Like,
I could,
the public needs to know this.
I could put something on our website.
Because
we don't really have a blog on our website, but I could do something.
Well, however
absolutely.
I don't know. But like, I'm dictating, and I never thought that I'm like in a. Oh, I just grabbed Kirk. Sorry.
Yeah, she's holding the Funko Pop as a microphone of Captain Kirk.
It's the nearest thing. I mean, the other nearest one is Spock, but he's more like a microphone.
Yeah, Spock looks more like a microphone.
I'm like dictating. I'm like, oh no, the zombies are coming, and then it's like Silly Eve is just talking out loud rather than a character, as you describe, would narrate a story. So that's a shift I didn't even know. That's key.
I have a background on stage, but not as a actor. My background on stage is as a musician. But even as a musician, when you get on stage, you're kind of in character, especially like playing punk music and rock music like I did. I am not walking down the street snarling at people in my day-to-day life. I'm actually a pretty easygoing, quiet guy most of the time. But I get on stage and the audience is listening. So what do you have to say? And you say it as loud as you can. And so I think some of that kind of mindset gets into it. A, it gets into my stories all over the damn place. But B, it gets into like how I approach doing dictation. Because of what you were just saying, like it's just you, to you it's just you saying it. To me, I'm playing a character, delivering lines.
Yeah. I think that's a key mindset shift that authors aren't aware of.
Average typing speed. You're a fast typist.
Yeah.
Just because of your career, you're a fast typist. You probably top out at what, 80, 90 a minute?
120. 120.
Okay, so you're a really fast typist.
Yeah, you talk, I type, yeah. But that's been my job for decades, so.
Oh yeah, but that's like top like 2-3%.
Goes in the machine kind of.
Yeah, that's like smoke coming out of the keyboards. That's like stenographer level typing speed.
Yeah, I did court transcription, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, there you go. So like 99% of people cannot type as fast as you, which I'm sure also helped you with the six books in 3 years.
There you go. Like, lean into your strengths, as they say.
The other advantage I've found with dictation is, like I said, I don't need a keyboard, which means I can go for a walk and write my book.
Outside. Ugh.
I live in Colorado. It is
in
gorgeous
the free
here.
air.
I can look out my window right now.
I'm sure it's lovely and healthy for you. Well done. You're very healthy in the sunshine.
I can look out the window right now and see Rocky Mountain National Park. So
I look out the window now and it's... Anyway, you're wonderful for your health. I commend you on your walking.
Oh, my health is terrible. I just like walking.
Yeah.
Now, keep in mind, I have to lean way over to see Rocky Mountain National Park.
Oh, way over.
Right out my window,
you might fall out of the chair.
I have to see the building next door. I live in the city, so...
Yes, I do too.
Or I'll put it this way. I live in a city.
Okay.
I say I live in Denver, but do I live in Denver or do I live in one of the 14 satellite cities around Denver?
The megalopolis of Denver.
Exactly.
Mega Denver 1.
Deep cut, nice.
I really hope my fans hear that one. She's so cool.
Oh, that's a good one.
I'm gonna retire now.
You're gonna retire now?
That's like my best work ever. I'm not gonna do
That was a good
it.
line. That was a really good line. I lost track of where I was going. Oh yeah. But yeah, I can be out. I can go to a park and I don't have to bring a laptop with me. And the battery on this dumb thing lasts like 100 hours when it's
Ah,
active. And
yeah.
it takes like, I don't know what the battery like specifications are in there because I know you have different names, but
Probably double A.
it takes triple A's. Okay, so you guys use the
Ah,
same ones?
yeah.
Yeah. So it takes tiny little batteries that you can buy a bunch of for like $10. It still has the original batteries in it over a year after I got this one.
Mm-hmm.
And I just find it way, way easier. And oddly, it has made me capable of rapid release without me having to push any harder. I
Okay,
haven't done it yet.
we need to have a conversation about this. Sounds like really general, but it's very specific. It's called like leaning into your strengths. There is a lady
Yes.
on the internet, her name is Becca Syme. Her YouTube channel is all about essentially this. So
I think my wife watches her actually.
Becca's amazing.
I
So
think my wife
I
watches her.
did a lot of personal development as I was doing this whole writing journey thing. And I did a lot of personality tests and like everything from like astrology and like my rising sign to the more data driven, shall we say, end of the spectrum. Um, like I'll take it all. Tell me about me in as many different facets so I can learn and then, as you say, lean into your strengths. I think that
Hmm.
alone is what made me, whatever you want to phrase it, a full-time author. That's the thing. I know what I'm good. I'm a fast typer. I can very high focus. That alone leans itself to what I did. I didn't go
Yep.
out here start. If I was to dictate, God love us all. I don't know what would come out. Like not this nonsense drivel, shite none.
Well, I think once you did it for a few days,
Mm.
that wouldn't be the case.
Dictation.
Yeah, I think
Oh God, you're gonna ask me to go outside next.
well, no, 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 you work the way that works best for you. That's another part of lit punk.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
if it works for you and it's not hurting anybody, do it.
Yes. 100%. As in all things in life.
Yes, exactly. I mean, that's a pretty pat piece of advice. But for me, I have trouble with focus.
Okay.
I'm the kind of person who if I am in a serious phone call, I pace because I
Ah,
can't
you
sit and
don't sit
focus.
still and focus?
No, no. I'm not sitting still now. It may look like it, but I'm not. The foot's going.
The jiggle is happening.
The jiggle is happening. So for me to be able to walk, which makes me focus for longer,
Mm,
and also be able to produce at a higher rate,
mm.
because my typing type taps out at like 60 words a minute, and I can only keep that up for 15 or 20 minutes before
Oh,
my
so you
hands
just do
go.
two fingers. Okay.
Oh no, no, no. I can
I'm
do I can
joking. I'm
actually
joking.
I'm a 9 finger typist because my right pinky
Ooh.
doesn't work. Like
Oh, you
that's all the
just.
control.
God.
Like I have no fine motor control on my right pinky anymore. But
Okay.
that's because I've broken that knuckle 4 times. I spent a lot of my youth with my hands and fists, basically. Um, and the
Boxing?
rest of my no, not
Oh,
boxing.
okay. I'll give you an out there. You could have been like, yeah, I
Yeah.
just so much boxing.
Oh no, I admit to my youthful stupidity. I got in a
Okay.
lot of fights.
And very quickly, before you regain
Yep.
your train of thought again, before you get back into it, I always say, like I've always said this even like before, like knowing that you kind of use the term lit punks, but kind of in life advice, if you're ever in trouble in a like a public space or whatever, go to the punks.
Yeah,
Punks are the most
absolutely.
helpful, kind
Absolutely.
people.
Or the metalheads.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Because they have a very we're all in this together thing going for them. They get that, shit goes wrong. And
Life
if it's
has
going wrong
darkness
for you
to it.
right now, it's going to go wrong for me soon,
Yeah.
or
If
it
not
could.
me, then you one day, or you then me. Yeah.
Exactly. So, my train of thought, for me being able to walk and work at a higher
Mm.
rate, it has made me capable. Like I said, I haven't used it yet because I mean, you can do rapid release with podcasts, but what's considered rapid release for a podcast is utterly insane, even for short story writers.
Oh, okay.
Rapid release for a podcast is daily.
Fully edited and everything.
Yeah, yeah. Well, most podcasts are this
No.
kind of format, or they're
Hmm.
scripted. They're scripted, but they're not like fiction. So, in general, a rapid release podcast comes out every day, and it's 10 to 20 minutes.
Mm.
So, 10 to 20 minutes at roughly 120 words a minute, that's a short story or more, a short
Yeah.
story to a novelette. So, that would be rapid release. I put out what would be considered insane rapid release for print writing,
Mm.
which is 1,500 words once a week, fully edited.
Yeah.
And that's just the one show.
Mm.
Once I start adding in the other shows again, it's going to be closer to 15,000 words every week.
Is that humanly possible? Are you hurting yourself by attempting to do that?
The only thing I'm concerned about is my voice.
Yeah.
That's my biggest concern. And I'm actually going to, before I get there, before I'm ready to start that, I'm going to start working with a throat doctor and a vocal coach
Oh, okay.
to mitigate potential damage to kind of because
Hmm.
I trained as a singer
Oh,
many
fantastic.
moons ago. That's
Yeah.
part of the reason I can do accents like we were talking about before we started
Yeah,
recording
yeah.
is because I had to train to sing in German and Latin and Italian and French
Is
and
this opera or choir?
choir. I did start training for opera.
Yeah.
I was training to be an operatic tenor. Yeah, as you can tell, I'm not a tenor. And I was a fairly heavy smoker. And also, another fun fact about me, I used to get strep throat at least twice a year
Oh, wow.
from the smoking for the most part.
Hmm.
And I ended up with scarring on my vocal cords.
And what you don't know, like about me, is I'd nearly give it all up to be able to sing. You've no idea. I had
Oh.
like this the one. It's the one thing. You know what I mean. If you can't sing, you kind of can't sing. You're that kind of way. It's talent, and it's like as we say here, I don't have the air to a fart. I don't like. It's not even being facetious or anything. There's no tone. There's nothing. So I'm like,
A lot of that is learned. A lot of it is learned. A
really?
lot of it. I mean, unless you have perfect pitch, all of that finding the tone is learned. Just like learning how to type is learned. Okay, so let's get back to talking about writing.
Hey.
We got a few minutes left here, and then I'm going to have to start heavily editing because we've been going for over an hour now.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Oh, are we? But your plan is to get back to writing full time if it's possible. I'm guessing.
Sure. But like the next project, I now want to have a look at trad publishing. So the next work I'm developing is a standalone trad pub uh, based on the story that's come. And I want to see where I go with that. You have to be open about these things. You have to be flexible. You have to try different things. You don't know what's going to be, often you don't know what works for you until you try it, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And
So
that's
I
how
have
I
no
ended up
snobbery
in
around.
audio.
Yeah. Yeah. And when it clicks with you, you know you're on the right path, you know?
Exactly,
You just
exactly.
know innately because more stories come. So, but anyway, for me, I do want to try
Man.
trad publishing. To me, there's no reason why an indie author shouldn't try that either under Dixon Reuel or under my real name or under some other pen name, whatever. I'm flexible again. You cannot have ego in this thing. And so many people
No,
do.
yeah,
I've
you
minus
like
ego about it. Like, fuck me up. I don't care. You know?
there is a certain like subset of the indie publishing world that would consider you like a sellout for going trad,
Oh, sure. Off they go, though. I don't
but
care.
they're no, no. Some books fit better with trad publishers. Some books fit better as indie. Like Blood Brute, you flat out said you knew it wouldn't find a home at a trad publisher. You knew it had to go indie.
Yeah.
And you went indie with it and it was a big success.
Yeah.
Like
Move
you
the
made the
units it
right
needed
bet.
to. Yeah.
You made the
Even to
right
talk
bet.
that way, even to say it moved the units it needed to, it's like sellout, commercial,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. There's a whole thing, man. there are a lot of indie people who will call you a sellout even for talking about business, just like you said.
Yeah.
And well, what the hell? Like I've been trying to start those conversations on Twitter for 3 years, 4 years. Like, let's talk about discoverability. Let's talk about SEO. Let's talk about return on investment. Let's talk about,
Gross versus net. Let's talk about your actual
yeah,
marketing spend of your reinvestment into your
yeah, exactly. And like, people would rather ask what non-alcoholic drink your MC would order at a bar
I hate those
than talk
questions.
about the
That's time
actual
wasting.
work.
That's time wasting.
No, it's engagement baiting. It's
Ugh.
worse than time wasting.
Do you know the way you know this from Twitter. Every time I log on, someone is screaming about something. If it's not, I know what, I don't even listen anymore. And then there's people screaming about moving away from Twitter, not just in the
Yeah,
writing community, but they're like, oh, everyone's at Blue Sky, everyone's at Mastodon. I just keep tweeting my shit because I'm old in the sense like, and I'm internet old, as in I was a GeoCities person. Before MySpace.
I was on Usenet back in the day.
Yeah, you
Like,
get it.
we're going back that far. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, these platforms, when they go, you will not be able to say goodbye. And until
Nope,
then,
they're just
keep
going to be gone.
partying. Keep partying until they're gone. And people can find you. Like, Jesus Christ, it's the
Yeah.
internet, they'll find you again.
I'm actually thinking about like migrating us off of Twitter mainly because of the toxicity. This is actually what one of the topics I was talking to Alexis about is like just the level of toxicity and how it's like it's getting worse and worse and worse as engagement gets worse and worse and worse.
Mm-hmm.
Like people are getting desperate for anybody to say anything on their posts.
Yeah.
And so we're thinking of migrating off, and we can talk about where we're going to be, where we might be going off mic. But
And also, as a lover of Dune, genuinely, the litany against fear helps. As
yes,
crazy as that sounds.
I say that to myself on a regular
Do
basis.
you? I do too. I do
I
too. I do too.
absolutely say fear is the mind killer.
Fear is the little death that will cause total oblivion. Because I don't
Yep.
like personally, I struggle a lot with agoraphobia. I mean, I joke that I don't leave the house.
Okay.
I don't like to leave the house. But recently, this week, I've had to leave the house, take public transportation, like an hour each way, and be out in the world in a way I haven't done in like maybe 3 years.
Yeah,
And
I think a lot of people are actually suffering through that now. A
yeah,
lot more than used to, certainly.
yes. Are they more open about saying it? Because before you could just be like, anyway. Um,
Yeah.
the litany against genuinely helps. Like the fear, I don't have fear; it'll pass through me. But the thing is like when you're faced with anything like that, and you know this feeling of like, I can't do this, and your mind starts going and going, and it's like, no,
Yeah. And you
you've
have to
given yourself
stop.
the skills. You've given yourself the skills
Yeah.
because you knew this moment was coming.
Why is
Yeah,
it every time I talk to Irish authors, we end up in a dark place?
because there's darkness in life, and we should talk about it, and we should help each other
Is
as
it
much as we can.
is it true that when Irish people call their moms, the first thing the mom tells them about is all the people in town who died? Is that absolutely true?
Genuinely, genuinely,
Okay, okay.
genuinely.
Getting back on writing before we have to go, because I'm still going to have to edit this damn thing. We have a rule, a company rule, and it's a personal rule for me where we do not give advice. I don't think anything we talked about today about looking at it as business, including those aspects of the work of the industry in what you're doing. Maybe not during the writing stage, but at some point before publication and after publication. I'd consider that fundamentals. I mean, would you agree with that?
I would agree. And I'd also like to say that I think too many writers do not prepare to succeed. They have an arrogance about the art and the awards they win and the lyricalness of how great they are and how they greet their fans, but they're not prepared for a business to succeed, which is something very,
Yeah.
very different. And that's not even advice. That's just me going, they're not prepared.
Well, no, I think a lot of the things we've been talking about isn't advice. It's just like things we've observed from
Yes.
our perspective of people who have been in business or been in this business for an extended period of time. That these are things that if you did this, if somebody gave you $100 million to start a corporation and you
Mm.
completely ignored everything but product design. Your investors would sue you into the ground.
You wouldn't be there next year.
Yeah, within a quarter or two, you'd be gone. I mean, it's a harsh truth, and it's not something that people go, I'm a writer, I enjoy creating, want to think about. But I'm a writer and I enjoy creating. And if I want to succeed in this, I have to force myself to think about that. I didn't want to study marketing. I had
Nobody
no
really.
interest in studying marketing. I
How
know
to
people
sell
who
to people.
love marketing.
Mm.
I didn't want to study that, but it's a necessary thing.
Yeah.
We went from how did you manage to make it even 9 months just on your income as an author?
Yeah.
I think we figured it out. You wrote the books. That was your creative outlet. And then the rest of it was business.
And I think with business being hungry to learn, because I see too many authors going, oh, Facebook ads, they don't work for me. I tried them that one time 2 months ago on a Tuesday and it didn't work. Like,
Well,
no,
why didn't they work?
look again.
Why didn't they work?
Why didn't they work? And it could be not even that your Facebook ads don't work. Your answer could be over here in the whole, your books are in the wrong category, and you're in the wrong genre entirely.
Yeah,
Or you
like what
need
you
new
were saying
covers.
earlier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which nobody wants to hear that you need new covers, but
No. I actually design all my own because I have a background in graphic design and
oh, you have a
photography.
background in graphic design. Okay, because some people just load up paint and off they go.
Yeah, it's stick figures with smiley faces and horns.
Clip
Actually, for
art.
some books that might work. It depends. Yeah, I think it's just stuff that we like what everything we're talking about beyond your personal story, everything we've talked about is stuff we really wish people knew and that nobody's talking about, which is what the point of this show is.
Right.
It's I wrote a trailer for this show that hasn't come out yet. Because I don't know when release dates are and I don't want to do my trailer too early because that's bad marketing. I know that because I asked questions and I asked people in the industry and I learned that part of it.
Yep.
And that's, what I want to do with this show is talk about the stuff that the writing community actively ignores.
I know. Because even just very briefly at the minute, my books were in Kindle Select up until the publication of 6. When the series was over, pulled them all. I'm gone wide now. I'm wide. And I'll
Yeah.
be launching ads on that platform and everything. Just that pivot alone, you know that there's tranches of authors who are like, wide is the best thing ever. If you're in Amazon, piss off, and vice versa. And people love worrying about things. They love putting lines in the sand and dividing. I'm like,
and the thing is, they're both wrong.
you only do what works for you, and I don't know what works yet because I haven't tried them both.
Yeah, exactly. And you've done indie. Indie worked for you. Your next story, you think it'll work better in traditional, so you're going to try traditional.
And while I'm doing that, I put my stuff wide rather than just on Amazon.
Exactly.
Like, try.
And here's the other thing that I think you're doing that's really smart. I'm guessing you've already thought of this because you seem like the kind of person who would have.
Oh.
You have a track record of selling books now. Your name sells. Your name sells books. Your audience. You have an audience. We'll put it that way. You have an audience.
An American again. Oh,
I am an American.
Oh, Irish shame is like no.
But you have an audience who have bought your books. Some of them have bought all 6 of the books. When you have a new book come out, whether it's traditionally published or indie, you have an audience that will at least express a concentrated interest in that book. And a traditional publisher will love that. You have a track record of selling. You have a portfolio. Do you prefer that? You have a successful portfolio.
I have written some words and put them in a book that one time on the internet.
You come from the business world.
Yes.
You have a salesperson come into your company looking for a job, right? The hiring manager, whoever, the sales manager, whoever is interviewing them says, well, what have you done previously? And that person says, well, I was working on small scale, but here's my list of sales. These are the sales I've made, all these successful sales. That person's going to get the job over somebody who has no sales history. Think of it on the corporate level as much as I hate
that I will
the
accept because you're speaking my language now. I think it's so weird. I still have that weird kind of like I just wrote a book that one time, and it's sales record. Like no, and your name sells shit. Like
Yeah,
really, in real
it's a
life, I'm a
very
gremlin.
American way of thinking. One thing I have never lacked is confidence. That is that is and it doesn't matter if it's the confidence to think that I can write six novelettes in 6 weeks, write and publish, or if it's the confidence that that brick wall isn't going to stand in my way if I run at it hard enough. I
Right.
have done both things in my life.
Oh,
Yeah, I got a dent in my head.
I know. Like, I was like, tell that story.
No, that's an off camera story. Off mic story. One thing I have never lacked is that confidence to go, yeah, that's going to work. I can do that. And talking to somebody like you who comes from a different culture where that's kind of frowned upon,
Oh, it really is. Yeah, it really is.
it's interesting to me that I had to put that in specifically corporate terminology for you to accept it. And I think a lot of creatives, part of the reason they don't want to look at the marketing stuff is the same reason you don't like being viewed as a success story.
It's because to me, I'm not there yet. I'm not a success yet by my own metrics. There's a metric I
Well,
want to
yeah,
hit,
but it's
and
also a spotlight. If you get into marketing,
yes,
you're highlighting the fact. If you're like, okay, I'm going to focus on marketing my work, I'm going to learn how to market, and you tell people I'm doing a marketing thing now and I'm going to learn how to do it right and I'm going to do it.
yeah,
Well, you're putting a spotlight on yourself that's saying this person is trying to sell.
mm-hmm.
The spotlight
Yep,
for you is a little different the way I've been talking about your work because I'm putting a spotlight on the fact that compared to a lot of indie authors, you have been successful. But the spotlight that they get put on them is this is a person who's trying to sell. And we get back to that whole tortured artist thing. Like
mm,
people don't want to be seen as a sellout. People don't want the image of I am here to sell books.
yeah,
Well, I can tell you right now, if Spotify offered me $1 million a year to be exclusively on their platform, I would take it in a friggin' heartbeat. And I don't care
yep.
who thinks I'm a sellout. I've got bills to
Cause you
pay.
ain't stupid.
I've got bills to pay. I've got a
Yeah.
wife who needs medical care. I've got to pay rent. I've got to pay for food. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I don't care who thinks I'm a sellout. You can be as mad at me as you want. You can think I'm as much of a sellout as you want. I'm doing this because I love it. If somebody wants to pay me, you know, like I said, I've got bills to pay. It's
Mm-hmm.
not being created specifically to sell. I'm not doing this just to make money, but I hope to make money doing it.
Often the first question out of people's mouth is, "What do you want to write next? What's next?" And it's like, ha, the sixth book is still warm. Calm down. But then you do get the question, and what was interesting was this next story. Honestly, I was writing something else. I was working on something else that I much preferred, kind of like a Judge Dredd meets a Mad Max meets Dune kind of a thing. Anyway, but what came was suddenly this story, and it just came boom, start to finish. The whole thing just came one day, bam,
Popped in your head. Yep.
and I'm not talking like, oh, a little idea. No, we have names, we have the world building, we have the arcs, we have start, middle, and end. Like, give me a piece of paper, let me start writing the damn thing. And it
Yeah,
just
yeah.
came so suddenly. I was like, you're an idiot if you don't follow this. You're an idiot if you
Yeah.
don't try and trad publish this.
Yep.
It's that kind of thing of
Yeah.
like, you can have a plan, and that's what a business person would do. But also, I think the real strength that I will say, hey, I'm strong in this, as opposed to any of that other nonsense you were waffling on about earlier. I don't know what that was. I'm flexible and I will pivot, and I have no
Yeah.
ego around doing that. Like that to me is what. How'd you become a full-time author? Okay, pivot and have no ego about it. It doesn't mean being scattered. Mm.
No, it means if the road is going that way, turn your car that way.
Sail with the wind, lads. Sail with the wind.
Yeah.
Mm.
What was I going to say? I don't think I was going to say anything. I think we're about done, actually.
We have to
We've
this
been at this
stage.
for quite a while now.
We'll lose our voices. It's been lovely though.
It has been. Thank you very much for coming out.
Thank you for
And
inviting me. I love getting invites like this. I'm like, yes, I will talk to you. Yeah.
well, we're definitely going to have you back because there are a lot more topics
Oh,
that I could talk with
please
you
do.
about.
That'd be great.
So, before I do the outro, where can people find you? Where can people find your books?
Okay, I can now be found wherever good books are sold, and that includes not just Amazon. We're on the Barnes& and Noble, we're on Kobo, we're on Google Play. We're on Draft Digital as well, so that covers a lot of online libraries.
Nice.
Hulu, I think, and also Smashwords and Scribd and those kind of platforms. Also, DixonReuel.com is where you'll find everything.
There you go. And I will do my best to remember to put all of that in the show notes. I might ask you to send me another email.
Just DixonReuel.com, it's fine.
DixonReuel.com. Okay, can
There
do.
we go. On the ball.
And also at Dixon Reuel on Twitter, for the time being at least. And I will try to convince her to end up on TikTok. We'll get there eventually.
My goodness.
We were
Do you
having
only
that
get
conversation.
old and you're just like, I can't.
I'm older than you.
I think
I'm
the young
literally in a
ladies of
different
TikTok.
generation than you.
I'm Gen X.
No, you're not.
I'm Gen X because I'm in Ireland and we were always behind the internet.
Okay, so you're giving yourself the decade?
I'm playing the paddy card over here.
All right, so you can find all of her stuff at DixonReuel.com, and you can find her on Twitter. Please do. She's awesome. And thank you very much for coming on. It's time to do the outro.
Okay.
All right, everybody. Thank you for listening. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for hanging out. And until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Punks in the Library is produced by Celosia Crane and NJ Sullivan and is a Lantern Audio Works production. To support this show, go to patreon.com/Lantern Audio Works. To check out all our shows, go to lanternaudioworks.com.